The regular meeting of the Medford City Council will be called to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Vice President Caraviello. Present. Councilor Della Russo. Present. Councilor Knight. Present. Councilor Kern. Present. Councilor Marks. Councilor Penta. Present. President Camuso.
Present by a vote of 6 in the affirmative, 1 absent. Please rise to salute our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just for the viewing public, Councilor Marks was here at a meeting and he had to leave for a flooding emergency at his house. But he was here, and that is why he is not here right now. He's dealing with a serious flooding situation at his house. All right. Chair recognizes Councilor Della Russo.
Mr. President, motion to suspend Rule 33 to take paper 14-756 out of order.
On the motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 14-756, notice of a public hearing. A public hearing will be held at the Medford City Council in the Howard F. Alden Memorial Chambers, City Hall, 85 George P. Hassett Drive, Medford, Massachusetts, on Tuesday evening, December 9th, 2014, at 7 p.m. on a petition by Fellsway Property, LLC, for a special permit pursuant to Chapter 94 zoning ordinances of the City of Medford, Section 94-192, Use Number 56A-2, Table of Use Regulation, to operate a drive-through to takeout establishment at 499 Riverside Avenue, Medford, Mass. Said site being located in the Commercial 1 zoning district. Petition and plans may be seen in the office of the City Clerk, City Hall, Medford, Massachusetts. For further information, accommodations, or aids, contact the City Clerk, 781-393-2425, TDD 781-393-2516. The City of Medford is an EEO AA 504 employer. By order of the City Council, Edward P. Finn, City Clerk. This was advertised in the Medford Mercury on November 21st and December 1st, 2014. At this time, I will declare the public hearing open. All those in favor of the project and of the drive-through, all those in favor, please come forward. Name and address for the record. Get feedback from both of you. Why don't you just take it away, Larry? It's something else. Just giving this feedback. Stand by, please, while the people out back. There we go. Is that a little better? I apologize, they're working on this out back. All right. Name and address for the record, please. This is the public hearing for those in favor of the drive-through.
Good evening. My name is Karen Johnson. I'm a resident of Arlington, Mass. I'm here tonight on behalf of Fellsway Property, which is located on Riverside Avenue.
Address, please.
88 Woodside Lane in Arlington, Mass.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the council. We first appeared before you approximately a year ago, pretty close to a year ago this evening, when the nor'easter that evening was a snowstorm. We met before the Committee of the Whole to introduce ourselves to you as the new owners of Fellsway Plaza. And at the time, we reviewed our proposals for improvements to the plaza, including facade renovations and the exciting news for new tenants, and we briefly discussed at the time our proposal for a restaurant pad along Riverside. During our introduction, we wanted to assure you that when we represented something to a community that we followed through. And I hope that you certainly and the residents of Medford are very pleased with the results of our facade renovations and see the investments that we've so far made in a very outdated and underutilized property. We are very excited about the progress that we have made so far. There's a lot happening out there that you don't see, and it results in significant investment in the infrastructure for Fellsway Plaza. And so the continuation of that is the proposed restaurant pad along Riverside. We presented our application for special permit for site plan review to the Community Development Board in August and received approval from them at the time. We're here before you this evening for the application for the drive-through for the Panera use, which of course is a special permit before the City Council. The Panera, and shown on the plan and in your application materials, is tenant A, and we're very excited to have Panera and Smashburger, which received common vic and I believe also a liquor license from the council, and then Noodles as tenant C. Through the process of our approvals before the Community Development Board, we also had an opportunity to meet with several of the neighbors along the 4th Street neighborhood. They had raised some concerns about the general overall condition of the property, and specifically, they had concerns related to odor control. And we were very pleased that so far our tenants have agreed through the process of receiving the common vic license from the City Council to employ additional odor control mechanisms, and our other tenants are also amenable to that as well. So we think that we've presented a great plan for Fellsway Plaza, a great plan for this property, and we have opened a line of communication with the neighbors in the area, which I believe really was not existent before we took title to the property. So we hope that that you find this along the same lines as the balance of our work that we've done in Medford. Joining me this evening in the event you have any questions are Kenneth Staffier, our civil engineer from VHB, and also Pat Dunford, who is our traffic engineer also from VHB. I am sorry to report that our attorney, Bob Abruzzi, has had a medical issue and he is not able to be present this evening. So we will try to answer as many questions as you can, but think that we may have to continue some portion of this matter until Bob can be present. But are there any questions?
Okay, the public hearing is still open. Anyone else in favor?
Jean Martin, 10 Cumming Street, Medford. I promised her I'd get up here and just say I'm in favor. Thank you.
Anyone else in favor? Hearing and seeing none, I now close that portion of the hearing and open it up to anybody in opposition. Opposition.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Bartlett. I currently reside at 488 Riverside Avenue, Medford, Massachusetts. So I live right across the street from the project. A little bit concerned about a few different aspects. Of course, with the Stop and Shop being there and a few other, retail spaces, it does get quite noisy, and we do encounter a lot of traffic getting in and out of our driveway, parking on the street. My house is usually blocked off. I'm usually asking someone at least once or twice a week, and I keep normal business hours for work to move their vehicles so that I can park in front of my house and not have to walk a block or so with my 4-year-old. I really oppose having an exit for this establishment on Riverside Avenue, just due to the traffic that we do encounter with the exit just about a block or so up from our home. It's very difficult to turn in and out, very difficult to get onto the street. The infrastructure, I don't think, really supports making a drive-through establishment right there. People aren't paying attention when they come in and out, so it's a little bit difficult. Also, and again, I don't know whether this has been established or not, the hours for this. With the Dunkin' Donuts being at that set of lights, it's hard enough to get past the McGlynn School to get to the highway on a daily basis.
We're in a public hearing right now. So you're not in favor?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else not in favor of this project? Not in favor of this project? Seeing and hearing none, I now close that portion of the public hearing. And are we waiting for the attorney, or are you proceeding? I know your attorney wanted to wait until the 23rd.
We would like to wait for the 23rd, thank you.
Mr. President?
Well, the attorney wants to be here to answer the questions. It's the
Mr. President?
will of the council, whatever the council wants. Councilor Dela Russo.
I'd recommend that in the absence of their legal counsel and representation, that we defer this till that time in which it can be. So I motion to table.
On the motion for table, which is undebatable, all those in favor? Well, the attorney asked, and they have legal representation. There's a motion to table on the floor. The clerk will call the roll. And the motion is till the 23rd, is that correct or not?
Was that the date indicated by counsel? I received a message from him today.
Yes.
He asked that consideration be made, and I don't see any, I know there was a very interested
There's
group
a
of
motion
neighbors.
there's a motion to table, so I don't want to cut you off, Councilor, but there's a motion to
Thank you, Mr.
table.
President. On my motion.
On Councilor Dela Russo's motion,
Yes.
clerk will call the roll.
Vice President Caraviallo? Yes. Councilor Dela Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Knight? Yes. Councilor Kern? No. Councilor Marks? Councilor Penta? No. President Caruso?
Yes, by a motion of 4 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, and 1 absent. The motion is tabled. And for the viewing public and the neighbors, this will be back before the Medford City Council on December 23rd to take action or discuss it in depth at that point. And we wish that your attorney is feeling better.
Thank you.
And the motion to revert back to the regular order of business. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Item 14-732, tax hearing. Legal notice, notice of public hearing. City of Medford. A public hearing will be held by the Medford City Council in the Howard F. Alden Memorial Chambers, City Hall, Medford, Mass. on Tuesday, December 9th, 2014 at 7 p.m. The purpose of the hearing is to hear the Board of Assessors on the following items for the purpose of allocation of the fiscal year 2015 property tax. To determine, number 1, to determine the residential factor to be used for fiscal year 2015. Number 2, select an open space discount. Number 3, select a residential exemption. Number 4, select a small commercial exemption. Call 781-393-2501 for any aids/accommodations. TDD 781-393-2516. The City of Medford is an EEO AA 504 employer. By order of the Medford City Council, signed Edward P. Finn, City Clerk. The public hearing is now open. Name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ed O'Neill, Chairman of the Board of Assessors, Chief Assessor, 85 George P. Hassett Drive, Medford. As Chairman of the Board of Assessors, I am respectfully appearing before your honorable body tonight for the purpose of holding a public hearing to discuss the following items concerning the allocation of the fiscal year 2015 property tax. 1, to determine the residential factor to be used for fiscal year 2015 by selecting the minimum residential factor, a percentage of the total tax levy from the residential taxpayer to the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayers. This results in a lower tax rate for residential properties and a higher tax rate for commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayers. Historically, the council has chosen the minimum residential factor. If this is once again the council choice, the minimum residential factor is decimal point 899,216. 2, to adopt an open space discount. This does not apply in the City of Medford, but a no vote is required. Number 3, to adopt a residential exemption. If adopted, owner-occupied residential properties may receive an exemption of up to 20% of the average residential value. This is accomplished by shifting a portion of the tax levy from the owner-occupied residential properties to non-owner-occupied properties. Since this shift causes a higher residential tax rate, a number of owner-occupied properties would also see an increase in their tax bills. 4, to adopt a small commercial exemption. If adopted, commercial properties housing a business employing 10 or less people and valued at less than $1 million may receive an exemption of up to 10% of assessed value. This is accomplished by shifting a portion of the commercial industrial tax levy from these eligible properties to other commercial and/or industrial properties. Since this shift causes a higher commercial industrial tax rate, all commercial industrial not receiving the exemption would see an increase in their tax bills. As part of this hearing, it is the duty of the Board of Assessors to notify the council of any excess levy capacity. Fiscal year 2015 excess levy capacity is $57,657.67. Table of contents. Page 1 is the classification hearing and the residential factor. In accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 369 of the Acts of 1982, Chapter 797 of the Acts of 1979, Classification Amendment, the City Council will hold a public hearing to receive public input relative to the determination of the residential factor for fiscal year 2015. Under Massachusetts General Laws, cities and towns are allowed to allocate or shift the tax burden between the various classes of property. The residential factor determines the allocation of the real and personal property burden to shift between various classes of property. By selecting a residential factor, you will also be deciding the respective tax rates for the real and personal property classes. The Department of Revenue has authorized the adoption of 2 rates, one for residential and open space classes and one for commercial, industrial, and personal property classes. Page 2 is the tax levy limitation. Last year, fiscal 2014, the levy limit was $93,175,009. This year, that's a starting point for fiscal year 2015. The addition of 2.5% is $2,329,375. Fiscal 2015, new growth is $999,941 for a total of $96,504,325 is the 2015 levy limit. Page 3 is the minimum residential factor computation. It shows the breakdown of the percentage by class. Residential class comprises of 88%, 1.1539% of the city, and the commercial industrial personal property is 11%, 11.8461%. Go through the calculations, you come up with a minimum residential factor of 93.281. Page 4 is the calculation of the lowest possible residential factor. The last year's chosen residential percentage was 78.1091%. Using a 150 shift would be 93.2810. The minimum residential share with the 150 shift is 82.2308%. To calculate the residential factor using a 175% shift to CIP, it's 89.9215%. Multiply that by the residential factor of the full and fair cash value residential percentage is 79.2693%. The lowest historical residential percentage since first certification, I believe was 1980, 72.1010%. Page 5 is the classification options, starting with the single tax rate based on the values in the levy of $13.01. That will be a factor of 1.00, and that will be for all classes of property, going all the way down the matrix to the max at 175%, which would give it projected as $11.70 for residential and $22.77 for CIP. Page 6 is the LA4, which is the valuation. Department of Revenue LA4 form, breaking down by class of property on the left-hand side, number of parcels, and the total value for this fiscal year. Page 7 is the valuation summary. Fiscal year 2005, the total value of the city from last year to this year went up 9.36%. Next page is the breakdown by class. Single families went up 8%. Condominiums went up 10%. 2 families went up 13%. 3 families went up 14%. The 2s and 3s went up the most this fiscal year. It reflects the mirror of 2004 values when the market went through the roof. Apartments, small apartments went 4 to 8 units, 8%, and the larger complexes went up 18%. Commercial, 3%, and industrial at 4%. Page 8 is a new growth. New growth is part of the levy limit. New growth was certified today at $999,941. $99,941. Page 9 is the scenario, if you use the minimum residential factor, what the average increase in value would be. Average increase for a single family would be $394,500. The average condominium is $294,600. The average two-family is $458,000. The average three-family is $545,900. The average commercial industrial is $1,098,400. So if the council adopted the minimum residential factor, the average increase for a single family would be $128.47. The average for a condominium would be $105.02, and the average of a two-family would be $374.08. Two-family. Average three-family would be $513.16, and the average commercial industrial would only see an increase of $292.27. So again, the increase would be in the twos and three families based on the valuation increases. Page 9.1 is the scenario for a single tax rate and the possible increases to the residential class versus the commercial class. Page 10 is the fiscal year 2015 tax rates from surrounding cities and towns. There aren't many in yet. It's probably 2/3. Once again, Medford, as proposed, would be around the third or fourth lowest residential tax rate if the council adopts that. Page 11 is page 1, 2, 3, 4 of the recap. And page 12 would be the residential exemption. Applies to all residential owner-occupied properties. Non-owner occupied properties would be excluded. This means any real property used for residential purposes, including apartment buildings in which the owner does not have a permanent residency address. Lots adjacent to and owned by owner-occupied real property would also be excluded. The residential exemption is a class exemption to the residential portion of the tax base only. It does not have anything to do with various social economic status of a taxpayer. It's based on the fair cash value of real property in the city. Fiscal year 2015 assessments based on January 1, 2014 assessment date. With this information in mind, we must be aware that all owner-occupied properties with the total assessed value of $546,400 and above will be the recipient of the exemption if it's owner-occupied, but because of the higher tax rate involved, will actually pay more in taxes than they would without the exemption. The local option on the residential exemption must either be approved or disapproved by a council vote. The percentage allowable by law is anywhere up to 10 to 20%. Communities that receive special legislation can exceed the 20% maximum. If the resident owner for any reason is not granted the exemption and can prove owner occupancy on January 1, 2014, an application must be timely filed and approved. Exemption will be granted. These funds are deducted from the overlay reserves. Failure to file it properly and timely will result in denial of any and all exemptions. Next page is the Department of Revenue breakdown for the residential, to explain the residential exemption. A municipality can grant a residential exemption of a dollar amount that cannot exceed 20% of the average assessed value on all residential class properties. Communities that receive special legislation can exceed the 20% maximum. The exemption reduces by the adopted percentage the taxable valuation of each residential parcel that is a taxpayer's principal residence. Granting the exemption raises the residential tax rate and shifts the residential burden from moderately or lower valued homes to apartments, summer homes, and higher valued homes. A residential exemption is one-way resort areas. Cape Cod and the Berkshires can provide some tax relief for permanent residents. Next page is the number of communities that have adopted it. 13 communities have adopted it so far. The next page is the impact. If it was adopted at 20%, 15%, and 10%, the valuation reduction for 20% will be $80,379. For 15% would be $60,284. For 10% would be $40,189. And the important part to note here, as I stated earlier, is the $546,400. $543,800, $546,300 would be the cutoff. So anybody paying more than that would, assessed more than that would be paying more in taxes if owner-occupied. There would be 1,278 parcels that would pay more as owner-occupied for 20%. For 15% would be 1,318. For 10% would be 1,279 would pay more in taxes. Next page is the breakdown, the actual formula and calculation to see what the number of owner-occupied properties to date that we have on file is 12,032, and the various scenarios, the dollar and tax dollar amounts by 20, 15, and 10%. Next page is the residential exemption breakdown. We have 15,259 residential properties. 74%, 12,032 are owner-occupied. We have a number of trusts that we could not ascertain ownership, 882. We have 268 unknown owner-occupieds. We have 2,309 non-owner-occupied, and that's an estimated number. And then residential land and accessory parcels are not included, 768, for a total of 16,259 in the residential class. Next page is a small commercial exemption. The various scenarios adopting at with no exemption, 1%, 5%, 10%.
Chair recognizes Councilor Longo-Kern and then Councilor Knight.
Yeah, I do have some questions. Thanks. Thank you.
You want to wait, Councilor?
Public.
Your light was on. You want to wait?
No, I can ask a few questions. Thank you for the,
Point of information, Councilor Del Russo.
Just in the interest of public safety, the ceiling on the west side of this room is leaking, and I'd urge people not to stand on that side of the room, as it appears from this angle that a patched portion of the ceiling is beginning to sag and may give way.
Can you step away from that, sir?
Sorry to
Thank you,
disturb,
Councilor.
Councilor.
Councilor Longo-Kern, as everyone looks up to the ceiling above.
just checking it out, okay. Thank you, President Camuso. Thank you, Ed, for the brief summary. The local receipts not allocated, the recap, I'm not sure we went over this in detail in our subcommittee meeting. Can we just go over a few of the figures on that?
Sure. I'd probably have to defer to Finance Director Baker on that.
Okay. The first would be the $300,000 difference from the penalties and interest on taxes and excises from fiscal 2014 to fiscal 2015.
Ann, could you address that? Estimated receipts.
Name and address for the record.
What you said.
Can we just get your name
Which
and
item?
title for the record?
Ian Baker, the Finance Director of the City of Medford. I didn't hear what you said. What item are you
It's
questioning?
Page, the page before is marked as 11, so it would be like 11B, I guess.
Yeah, what item? What line item?
Penalties and interest on taxes and excises.
Yes, that's because there was a particularly large tax title parcel came in last year. I think the interest on it was like, it was over 300 and something thousand. I don't remember the actual property address that it was, but that won't be repeated.
So it was a large
It
new
was a
build?
large tax title property, a large property that had been in tax title for a number of years, that was redeemed.
And then the next one, payment in lieu of taxes, how come that is increased by
Right,
almost
the
3,000?
MVDC payment that was supposed to come in, that was a new payment for fiscal 14, did not come into fiscal 15, so that will be budgeted for fiscal 15. That was $166,000. Then we will get that same amount that is due for fiscal 15, which is $166,000, and then there's a new payment due for fiscal 15 of another $107,000.
And then number 10, fees, another significant difference.
On the, number 10, the fees, that has to do with the cable fees. We get about $400,000 a year from Comcast, and we get about $200,000 a year from Verizon. So that'll be the $600,000 budgeted for fiscal 15. In the last year, sometimes their payments go into the wrong year if they're late they go into the wrong year. So last year, one of the payments went into the wrong year, went into the previous year. So it was low last year.
So that's the fee that's supposed to be used for the 3 public TV stations?
Yeah, right. No, these aren't the TV3. These are the fees that come into the city. The franchise fee, the 3% franchise fee.
That's a separate fee from what we usually use for TV3? That's
Right,
a
it's
separate fee?
Right.
So 3%?
That fee is now being kept in a separate fund when the TV3 issue is resolved, I guess.
So, but that separate fee is coming out of 3%, it's just held separately?
No,
I thought the
3% fee that we get for the franchise fee is a local receipt. It's always been a local receipt.
Point of information.
Point of information, Councilor Penta.
And there's 2 separate accounts.
Right.
One that has a public access account that has in excess of $300,000.
That's the old TV3 money.
Right. And
That's
then
not
there-
this money.
And there's another account where Verizon and Comcast pay a percentage.
Right, and that's this money.
That's this
It's
account
Verizon
here.
and Comcast.
Okay. So they are 2 separate accounts.
Right.
They're not one.
Gotcha, okay, and then number 16, departmental revenue?
That is, the excess on that is the guaranteed portion of the new parking fees. We're guaranteed to get at least 6 months' worth of a $25,000 per month fee in this coming year. Regardless of what else happens, so we've put in that guaranteed fee as an additional excess departmental revenue.
And then number 23, miscellaneous non-recurring?
The 23, that was FEMA money from the prior year. That won't repeat.
That was for potholes?
I can't remember what it was.
FEMA?
I think it was
That
FEMA
was
money.
the floods.
The floods, yeah.
We
maybe.
got money back from FEMA a few years.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was. It was from FEMA.
And then we had mentioned in subcommittee that free cash for the last fiscal year was we put $1 million into free cash.
Slightly less than $1 million. But that was almost all attributable, a large portion of that was attributable to the excess amount collected from motor vehicle excise in excess of what was budgeted. I think 700,000 of that was because of that one item.
Motor vehicle
Between
excise, number
what
one.
was budgeted for 14 and what was collected in 14. You don't have that in front of you. This
Well,
last year.
we have number one, motor vehicle excise for $5,682,440.
Right, so what was collected in 14 was
Far exceeded
significantly
that.
over what was budgeted in 14,
Then-
which is what attributed that, a large portion of that increase in free cash was attributable to that.
So we don't expect that increase in 2015?
No, I think it's stable, well, we can't tell. I think it's, we really can only budget what we collected in the previous year unless we have evidence that it's gonna be repeated. That was kind of,
And what was the figure again that it went over budget?
I think it was more than half, like 600,000 maybe. I'd have to go back and get that last year's recap.
If I may put a motion through the chair, could we get figures by next week on how much was put into free cash in 2012, 2013, and how much has been put into free cash so far in I guess you wouldn't do that until
You don't do
the
that till
end
the
of
end of the year.
2000.
So just the
Yeah.
last certification of free cash was as of June 30, 14. So it would have been the results of operations.
So
to-
can you
for
give me the last
14.
three, 2011, 2012, 2013, June figures for what was put into free cash? Can we get a copy of that?
Sure.
If you could, do you have that, Mr. Clerk? And so the last year, the majority, I guess, came from motor vehicle
A
excise.
large portion of it, yeah.
And where did the additional, do you have any idea?
There was only a couple of $100,000 in unspent budgets. To the best of my recollection, that's correct. The rest of it was, minor items and other line items of local receipts, but those were the two major items.
Doesn't make any difference because the excise revenue.
I'm good for questions right now.
Councilor
Thank
Knight.
you.
I have nothing to add, Counselor. The microphone was on, but
Councilor Penta.
Maybe I missed it. can we go back to number 10? Where's Ann? Number 10, under fees. It went from 398 to 609.
Right. Because something, in the previous year, one of the items was posted in the wrong year. It was posted, it was like, sometimes they send in one check, and it's for 2 payments, and it went into the previous year. So the 609 is what we would normally get every year. We get about 400,000 from Comcast and about 200,000 from Verizon.
So let me get that straight. If in fiscal 2014, you had 398,
Right. Because something from Comcast got paid early. They paid us with one check right at the year, and it got posted into the prior year.
so then that got posted, what, in 2013?
Yeah.
Can we get a, on the same train of thought,
Okay.
can we get, for the years 11, 12, and 13, Comcast, what they
Sure.
paid, and what Verizon
Sure,
paid?
yeah.
Do you have that, Eddie? 11, 12, and 13 fiscal years.
They tend to pay them right smack at the end of the year, so sometimes I get into the wrong year.
Now, it looks like, and this is like, these numbers are really tight. When you talk about Medicaid reimbursement, you're talking about less than $60,000? You go from 446, 628 to 447.
That's just rounding. We're assuming the same number. We have no reason to suspect that it's going to be any higher. We work with Shore Collaborative, and Shore Collaborative generally gives us an estimate if they think there's something, if the federal government has changed their formula, or if they think we're going to get more money for some reason, or if there's generally it's because the federal government changed their formula, or something's timing has changed. But we've had no information from Shore to indicate that anything extraordinary is going to come in 15 over and above what came into 14, what came in 14.
And also under 23, which is miscellaneous,
What number?
number 23.
Yeah, that was FEMA. That was FEMA money that came in 14 that won't come in 15.
So all our prior debt for last year's snowstorms and everything have been paid?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Can we just go back to that number 10, where you have Comcast and Verizon and you have
Right, yeah.
fees? We're going to get them for 11, 12, and 13,
Yeah.
okay? And can you also give us the amount of money that was paid by the city of Medford to Channel 3 during those years too? Because I believe they checks.
What was paid to them?
Yeah, to the Medford Community Cable Access.
Well, we've been holding all those checks.
No, you're holding it, I believe, since December of 2012. So all of 11 and mostly all of 12, you wrote checks, the city wrote
So
checks.
you want to know what we paid to them during fiscal 11?
11 and 12.
Fiscal 11 and 12?
And then it
Okay.
stopped.
I think didn't we go over this one time before? I think?
No, we never got that. No, you gave us how much is sitting in the account, but I want to know what was paid.
Okay.
In other words, during the month of 2011,
During fiscal 2011, fiscal 12, how much was given to TV3? Or
Right.
whatever they were called at that
Right.
point. Okay, yeah. All right.
you have that, Eddie?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Any other councilors, any questions? Councilor Longo Kern.
Thank you, President Camuso. The new growth, the 999,941, what's the dollar amount on that new development, the Lumiere Apartments? I mean, that had to be a large chunk of that?
Well, through you, Mr. President, the property is under construction, so we pick up a part of the value this year, and we pick up most of it for next year. I know they're occupied as of, I guess, August 2014. So that would be in the apartment growth. That'd be the fourth line down on the second page. That's part of that
What page are you on?
new growth form. Page 8, the back page of it.
So that would be, which section would that be, Ed?
That would be captured under multifamilies, and then it will be the last column.
New growth valuation.
Yeah, it's part of that 7 million.
Oh, gotcha.
We'll capture most of that next year.
And will we capture the new development at Station Landing Hotel? Will that be next year?
That's the front parcel, that's for the hotel, yeah, we will. There's nothing done yet on that, just a change in the, no, I think it was actually commercial land before, so no, nothing yet. Not until they put the shovel in the ground. All right, so it'll be next year.
Next year, yeah. Are there any other large developments?
Yep, there's Middlesex Avenue, the apartment complex behind Wendy's, they're in the ground on that one. There's River's Edge is going to put another apartment building on the front parcel there. Is it 2 now? Is it 2? 2 separate. Okay. So there's a lot of activity in the apartment sector of real estate, not just in Medford, but all over. And rents have gone up, especially in those higher-end apartment complexes.
Thank you.
Councilor Penta.
Also on Locust Street, Luminaire, they should be coming on board too.
That's the one we were just talking about, yeah. Locust and Middlesex, 3780 Mystic Valley Parkway.
Right.
Yeah.
So you get Luminaire, and then you're going to have the one at opposite Stations Landing where Mellon Bank is, and then you're going to have one further down in front of where the medical building is. And then, where's the fourth one?
River's Edge, Middlesex Ave.
No, that's what I'm talking about. River's Edge will have one, and then in front of where Mellon Bank is on the baseball field, there's another 230 units.
It's going to be in the back of, yeah,
Right.
1 Cabot Road.
Right,
correct.
so you can have
Right, in the
230,
back.
330, 400. You can have almost 550 more new
It'll
units.
be more than that when they come online, right, and higher-end rents as well, right. So there seems to be an incentive to build in Medford, proximity, location, amenities.
We'll see how long that lasts once the casino goes in, and what that does to the traffic, and to the Wellington area.
Medford voted for the casino.
Mr. President,
Councilor Penta.
I'd just like to get back and, we're going to stay on that page, or are we going on? Okay. Well, I'll wait till we get to the very end. There might be other issues, I don't know.
Any other questions, motions? Councilor Dela Russo.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
This is a 4-part process. Name and address for the record. On the motion of approval by Councilor Dela Russo, if you could step aside and let the gentleman up here, please.
Thank you, Mr. Assessor. My name is John Sorello. I reside at 20 Medcop Street, Medford, and I want to say that the way this is presented here, this is an open hearing, and the people have to have input, and this should be thoroughly debated. Now, what happens here is that this paper put forth by the administration says, historically, the council has chosen a minimum residential factor. If this is, once again, the council choice, the minimum residential factor is almost 90%. Administration shouldn't be telling you how to vote on this. I mean, I think you should debate this and then decide. There are a whole range of factors here, beginning with the single factor, which is approximately 13%. Yes, it's 13%. With the new factor put in, the rate will rise. Now, the point I want to make is there is a difference between a rate and a levy. I mean, the rate may be lower, but the levy is higher. And you should not confuse those two. Now, what I want to ask the auditor, if we had over the last 28 years, if we had a single factor, would the tax levy itself be higher or lower than it is now? I wish one of them would answer that question.
as we've discussed in the past, the way the formula is constructed, when you do the residential factor shift, to shift the burden of the taxes from the residential payers to the commercial payers, it does result in a higher levy. However, it results in a lower tax bill for the residential owners as opposed to the commercial tax bill. And we went back last year, or the year before, we went back 6 years and determined that if we had had a single rate every year for those 6 years, at the end of that 6-year period, even though the levy was higher, in other words, the amount of taxes brought into the city from all sources, the levy is higher, the residents, not the single family, but the residents, as opposed to the commercial, the residential class, still would pay less. Now, he's trying to say if we went back to 1988 and did it every year from 1988, would it still be lower? I haven't done that exercise. But I would be willing to bet that because we do a full 175% shift from the residential class to the commercial class, I don't believe that the residential taxpayer would ever recoup what they've saved over the years by having their residential shift. And that is what this council has approved every year. But since 1988, they've approved it every year because that's true. And we didn't go back to do it to 1988, but we went back 6 years, and it proved out true then. And even in some of the years when the values were down, we were doing a 200% shift. We did a 200% shift. So I don't believe that the residential taxpayer would ever have recouped the savings that were granted through this shift in all those years.
I'd like to respond to that. The tax levy last year was $93 million. Now, this year it's going to be $96.5 million. There's an increase there of $3.5 million. On the other hand, if we had had the single tax rate from the beginning, well, we'd be paying $6 million less. The tax levy now would be $89 million. And what happens is really that the people pay the tax levy. I mean, that's what they're actually paying. So what would happen really is that the payments would be less. I mean, taxes would still go up. Don't misunderstand. They would go up, but they would go up much less if we had a single rate. Now, Arlington has a single rate, Belmont has a single rate. They love it, and they're prosperous.
Name and address for the record.
Good evening. Joseph Villione, 59 Garfield Ave, Medford, Mass. And I want to thank Dr. Starella. There should be debate about the city budget. It shouldn't just come in here, go through the other, and then be rubber stamped. Especially, I'm concerned about the $600,000 from the franchise fee. Now, the listening and viewing public needs to know, in most cities and towns, the entire PEG money, all 5%, goes to public access television, governmental television in high school. Where's the high school money? 200 grand goes to TV3, the old TV3. 200 grand is supposed to go to the government channel, but it's used for 3 salaries at the high school. And then the 600 grand goes into a general fund, which the mayor does this, no one discusses it, and his own community access TV committee said we need 500 grand to start a new station. Yet, if he's taken 600K and we've lost access, that 600K this year should go to building a new station. This is a second-tier tax. I think that's the term they use. Let's just call it a second tax on the cable TV subscribers who already pay the real estate tax. Now they're getting to pay another tax. This is another tax, and it's wrong. It's unfair, and this council really needs to do something about it, because year after year after year, the mayor just takes that money, throws it in the general fund, and no one knows where it's coming from. Well, that's where it's coming from, your cable TV bill.
Thank you. On the motion of Councilor Del Russo. Oh, sure. Name and address for the record, sir.
Andrew Castanetti, 23 Cushion Street, Medford, Mass. Excuse my hat, I'm a bit out of the weather. I'll make this very brief, even though I forgot my glasses. Thank you, Councilor Del Russo. First off, season greetings, and if I may, I wish you all a peaceful Christmas. We feel like this is deja vu all over again, but will you please give the local owner-occupied homeowner at least the 20% real estate tax exemption? Only if they live in their house, which can be verified by their income tax filing address. As you know, this real estate tax savings is being done in Malden, Everett, Somerville, and is at 35% in Somerville. Why not us? At least give us the 20%, which is automatic from the state of Massachusetts, if we adopt it. Especially when 12 of 13, over 90% of Medford homeowners would receive a lower real estate tax bill than last year's, versus historically a 2 to 4% yearly increase in real estate tax bill dollars. We the people, are not politicians at this time. However, you, our elected city councilors, do have the power tonight to vote for a 20% real estate tax exemption and vote to send this request to Mayor McGlynn, because I believe only he, the mayor, has the authority/option to select and adopt this real estate tax exemption, along with your city council approval. Under Commonwealth of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5C. We the people, the working class hero, needs real estate tax relief. Please vote yes. Help save our middle class neighbors before it's too late. Thank you kindly for listening and hopefully getting this done, for it's 10 years overdue. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to make one more very, very important point. What would you think if I asked this city council to assess the residents of Medford a $24 tax rate? It's now $12, right? But when you go for the minimum factor, what you're doing really is putting that $24 tax rate that you think that you're assigning to the CIPs, the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxes, you're putting that on the budget. And who pays 80% of the budget but the residents? Now here you are charging the residents $24 per thousand on that particular category, which is new growth. I think the people ought to know that. They are paying a $24 tax rate with this minimum factor.
Councilor Longo Kern.
Thank you, President Camuso. Considering that Councilor Marks isn't present tonight, this is one of the two most important issues this council votes on. Not only that, but we have a whole host of information, so another week would not hurt. I also want to get the figures on the free cash for 2011, what was put into free cash 2011, 2012, 2013, because I will have a motion to reduce the levy by that figure, or an average of that figure. I move to table this matter until next week.
Motion for table has been requested, which ends all debate. Would you withdraw it so we can at least read the two resolutions that we're asking for, so we can take an official vote on it and then move it right again? All right, it's two resolutions we're asking for. 2000 by Council Longo Kern, 2011, 2012, and 2013. How much certified free cash was signed off on by the Department of Revenue and certified? And by Councilor Penta, 2011, 2012, and 2013, Comcast and Verizon paid to Channel 3 for
They paid into the city.
they paid into the city. And then the other one is how much was paid to Channel 3 for fiscal years 2011 and 2012. On those two motions, one further, on Councilor Penta.
One further correction, I think Council Longo-Kern's motion is basically for the years 11, 12, and 13. How much
Certified
did that represent a surplus in those years' cities' budgets?
All of it.
The free cash.
That's why it gets certified.
Yeah, I want the actual
Right.
documents showing how much was certified too. Yep.
That's what you asked for. Thank you, Councilor Penta. On the motion, these two resolutions, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Once again, Councilor Longo-Kern, motion to table, which is undebatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. It is tabled until next week. Councilor Delarusso. Councilor Delarusso, your light was blinking.
Yes, we want to take, Mr. President, there's a paper from the mayor requesting a transfer of funds from one account to another, if we could address that. I believe it's item number 14776. The paper was presented to us in packet with detail.
Item 14-776. On the motion of Councilor Delarusso to take this paper, all those in favor? All those opposed, the ayes have it. Item 14-776. To the Honorable President and members of the Medford City Council. Dear Mr. President and City Councilors, I respectfully request and recommend that your honorable body approves the transfers from overlay surplus to revaluation account 010-141-5310 totaling $200,000 as outlined in the attached memo from the City Assessor and the Board of Assessors. These amounts will fund year two of the cyclical inspection program as required by the Bureau of Local Assessment of the Department of Revenue and to defend the pending appellate tax board cases. City Assessor Ed O'Neill and the City Auditor Ann Baker are present this evening to answer any questions you may have.
Move approval.
On the motion of Councilor Delarusso for approval, all those in favor? Councilor Knight.
Point of information, Mr. President. Last week, we discussed the cyclical reevaluation process that's in place, and Assessor O'Neill did get back to us, and I was hoping that he'd be able to provide the general public with an update as to where we are in the reevaluation cycle in terms of the DOR mandated process that needs to take place.
For you, Mr. President, that was Council Resolve 14770. The real property reinspection program is nearing the year of end one. As of October, 6,279 residential and 545 commercial industrial exempt exterior inspections have been completed. We are in the process of putting a letter together to mail out to the people that have not had the interior inspection. The owner can schedule this with the appraisal vendor directly. This is a mandate every 9 years. We are in year one of the project. Before you is a overlay reserve transfer to overlay surplus to fund year two, and also to fund, I believe it's about 8 or 9 appellate tax board case to be able to defend those. The estimated number of outstanding inspections is about 7,160 residential and about 775 commercial industrial exempt.
Mr. O'Neill, thank you very much for getting back to the council in such a timely fashion. In terms of the appellate tax board cases that are out there pending, are those cases handled internally or is outside counsel hired to
The Board of Assessors tries to handle and negotiate those internally, and sometimes when push comes to shove, we need expert assistance, whether it be an appraiser or an attorney that deals with those cases on a daily basis.
So it's a case-by-case
Case
basis.
by case. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. O'Neill. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
On the motion of approval, Councilor Delarusso. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Roll call on this paper.
Big bucks.
Vice President Caraviallo. Council Delarusso. Yes. Council Knight.
Yes.
Council Kern.
Yes.
Council Marks. Council Penta. President Camuso.
Yes, 16 affirmative, 1 absent. The paper passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item 14-769, location of poles, attachments of fixtures, and underground conduits. You are hereby notified that by order of the City Council, a public hearing will be given at the Howard F. Alden Memorial Auditorium, 85 George P. Hassett Drive, Medford, Massachusetts, at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, December 9th, 2014, on a petition of National Grid and Verizon New England for permission to locate poles and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures, along and across the following public way. Winthrop Street, National Grid to install 1 JO pole and relocating 1 JO pole beginning at point approximately 275 feet southeast of the center line of the intersection of Burbank Road and Winthrop Street. National Grid to install mid-span pole 244-1, 60 feet north of pole 244. Wherefore it prays that under due notice and hearing as provided by law, it may be granted a location for and permission to erect and maintain poles and wires together with sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary. Said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the plan filed herewith, marked Winthrop Street, Medford, Massachusetts, number 1774941-October 2nd, 2014. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or interesting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. The petitioner agrees to reserve space for 1 cross arm at suitable point on each of said poles for the fire, police, telephone, and telegraph signal wires belonging to the municipality and used by it exclusively for municipal purposes. This has been approved by the chief engineer. No city-owned or private utilities or other structures are adversely impacted. National Grid shall ensure that all sewer, water, and drain lines are marked prior to any excavation. Concrete sidewalk panels damaged by the work must be immediately replaced, or, if during the winter season, replaced the following spring. Before beginning work, the contractor shall notify DigSafe and shall obtain applicable permits from the engineering division. The contractor shall utilize City of Medford regulation and standards for restoration, as well as remove all debris related to its work. This was also approved by the superintendent of wires. Call 781-393-2425 for any accommodation/aids. Signed, Edward P. Finn, City Clerk. Plans can be viewed in the City Clerk's office, 781-393-2425. At this point, I'm going to open up the public hearing for those in favor of this proposal. In favor. Name and address for the record.
Mary Ellen Murphy. I work for National Grid, 170 Medford Street, Malden. And what happened here was that there was already a pole line existing that fed the American Legion. Unfortunately, it goes across the property next door, which that owner has decided to divide up into 3 sections and build some housing there. So what we're going to do is, we already have an easement that the American Legion has agreed to, not signed yet, of putting a pole on their property, and then this pole that's going in between the other 2 is going to feed that pole on their property. So everything will be taken off the property at 333 Winthrop Street. And that's all overhead. I'm not sure why it says underground, but I guess that would include putting the pole in the ground, and we're going to put transformers on that pole. All the utilities will come off that pole that feeds the American Legion. And like I said, we already have an easement started, which is not signed yet.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in favor? In favor, seeing and hearing no one else, I now close that portion of the public hearing and open it up to anyone in opposition. Anyone in opposition? Seeing and hearing none, I now close that portion of the public hearing and call upon Vice President Caraviello, Chairperson of Licensing.
Thank you, Mr. President. I reviewed the papers and they appear to be in order, and motion for approval.
On the motion for approval, Councilor Knight, and then Councilor Dela Russo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Ms. Murphy, if I can ask a couple of questions? If approved, do you know when the work will start? How long after approval?
Well, like I said, we have to get the easement first. And that should be shortly, because I think we applied for that back in October. And once that's signed, we can probably start within...
Once construction starts, do you know how long this project's going to take?
A day or two, I think.
And do you anticipate this project being done in the winter months or in the spring months?
Probably this month or next month.
This or next month, okay.
Is that Counselor?
I am, Mr. President, thank you.
Counselor Del Russo, then Counselor Penta.
If I could just, Mr. President, mention that I saw in some of the items under suspension that we have coming up, there was concern about a utility, I think it was a resolution by Councilor Knight, by one of the utilities not returning things back to their proper order. And I want to take this opportunity to remind the representative of National Grid, with all due kindness, but firmly, to remind them that they are obliged to return any of the roadways, sidewalks, and abutting areas to their natural pristine state after the work is done, so that the traffic and pedestrians, and especially those with disabilities, are unimpeded after that work.
Thank you. Counselor Penta.
2 points. I think this is your first time here?
She's been here.
You been here before? Second, okay. This council voted well over a year ago, and then again during this past summer on Terrace Road. 2 light poles came down. And when National Grid went there, whoever they hired for contractor, what they did is they filled the holes and they never put the poles back up with the lights. It's a serious public safety issue. The council's on record on 2 separate times in voting for that. National Grid went up there, they marked the street, but they never put the poles back.
I'm sorry, where is this?
Terrace Road.
On the motion of...
Wait a minute, she's getting...
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'll have to...
This has been brought to whoever runs the show over there in Malden numerous times, and they keep saying we're going to get to it, and nobody's gotten to it. There are many folks that walk their
thank you.
that walk their children up and down the street in baby carriages and what have you, and that gets pretty dark at nighttime.
2 poles.
2 poles.
I'll look into it.
Terrace Road. And also, do you have any control over this 36% increase in the electric rate to bring back to your bosses?
I
They've
wish
got
I
$1 million
did.
bonuses?
I wish I did.
It's a shame, because, you
Because
know...
I live in the National Grid territory too, and my rates are going to go up.
It's just really unfair, you know? 1 year, I mean, you people are a conglomerate, you've got gas and electric. So, I mean, we have no control over anything, and the poor ratepayers are going to pay another 27 to 36%. And as the story goes, and as it's been advertised, all your bonuses of $1 million plus went to your high executives, and I don't know how they can justify that. It's just wrong.
I think they're justifying it by saying that the increase in fuel costs, but I'm not sure that,
You're the engineer, right?
yeah,
From National Grid?
right.
You want to send a separate resolution to their corporate office?
You could do that.
On the motion of Councilor Penta to send a resolution inquiring why the rates went up, all those in favor?
No, we know the rates went up.
Why?
I think if they're going to have the rates, I just think it's unfair that they would take $1 million bonuses in their contracts.
All right, so we'll send that. On the motion of Councilor Penta, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Councilor Knight.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I also want to take the opportunity to thank Ms. Murphy, because last time she appeared before the council, I raised some concerns that I had relative to a sidewalk and a street repair between Smith Ave and Hicks Ave, which is the subject of a resolution that I'm going to be bringing up this evening under suspension. And although Ms. Murphy works, from what I can tell, in the distribution of electricity, within a week, they were out there and they had fixed the street from Hicks Ave to Smith Ave and repaired it into its natural and pristine condition. So, Ms. Murphy, I want to thank you for your efforts on that, because it was 2 days later that I drove down the street and I saw the sawhorses out there and they were ready to get to work. So thank you very much for your efforts, and I trust that if you were able to do something with the 37% increase in the electrical bill, in the two or 3 days from now, we'd probably see it taken care of. So thank you very much for your past work on behalf of this council.
Thank you. On the motion of the Vice President, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. And on the motion to revert back to the regular order of business, all those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 14-774, offered by Councilor Knight. Be it resolved that the MBTA take the proper steps to ensure that the Route 96 bus makes all scheduled stops pursuant to the established and publicized bus stop locations. Be it further resolved that the MBTA gives specific attention to the stop located at Medford Square and City Hall parking lot, as recent reports allege that the weekdays 6 a.m. and Saturday 6 a.m. bus frequently bypass this established and publicized location. Councilor Knight.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I was recently contacted by a number of members of the Laborers Union who are working on a project in Harvard Square, and they reside in Medford, and they walk down to Medford Square, City Hall, and they get on the bus to take that bus to Harvard Square because parking's such a hassle over there. And it's been brought to my attention that usually on Thursdays and Saturdays, the 6 a.m. bus fails to make a stop at the City Hall stop, Mr. President, resulting in these individuals being late for work or having to take taxis to work. I think the reason that this happens is because the way the route's structured, it has to go past, the old Tony Lucci's, take a left down River, come back past City Hall Plaza, and then do the loop again. So maybe in the interest of time, some of these drivers are bypassing a certain stop that may or may not be busy all the time. However, it's had an impact on these hardworking individuals, so I'd like a letter to be sent out to the MBTA to be sure that their drivers are made aware of the fact that that is a stop, and that's a stop that means a lot to the residents here in the city of Medford. It's a publicized stop, it's on their schedule, it's on their route, so it's a stop that they should be making.
Thank you, Councilor. When I sit down, I wanted to add something to that.
Absolutely.
The chair recognizes Vice President Caraviello.
Thank you, Mr. President. While we're talking about that same route, on Riverside Avenue, right in front of the doctor's office where the bench is, I don't know if you've driven by there, but the street is kind of been raised up by all the buses that go by there on Salem Street. I don't know if that's our responsibility to fix that, but or the T's. I say if you drive by there, right at the stop, you'll see a huge lift in the road from the buses. It always stopped there right directly across from River Street.
Send it to the DPW.
Or the T. I don't know who's responsible for fixing that, but it's directly right at the bus stop in front of the little power plant and right there.
So on the motion to send that to the MBTA, all those in favor?
Specific, because you said Salem Street and Riverside Ave.
Yeah, sure, it's right at Salem Street, right where the power station is. There's the bench there in the station.
Oh, so on Salem Street.
It's actually on Salem Street.
Okay.
Directly across from River Street.
Directly across, okay.
Right there,
Just
you
make
see
sure
there's
it's
a
clear.
huge, it's probably up in the air, probably about 7 or 8 inches from all the buses pulling in there.
Okay.
It's a lift in the street.
One in front of the ear doctor?
On the motion of Councilor Knight and amended by Vice President Caraviello, all those in favor?
All right.
All those, the ayes have it. Item 14-775, petition for a reversal of a sign denial by Bowler Engineering for Wendy's, 330 Middlesex Avenue, Medford, Mass. OCD application 2014A, excessive number of primary signs, and 2014B, excessive number of primary signs. 2014C, excessive number of primary signs. Name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name's Anthony Donato with Bowler Engineering, and
Do you have these papers? He's not here. Ready?
I think. So we'd like to present this appeal to the councilors. We have this proposed restaurant, the existing restaurant at 330 Middlesex Avenue, being renovated, and some new Wendy's standard floor. In the audience with us tonight, we have Mr. Chad Adams, who works for Wendy. I'd just like to present to you the proposed renderings of the new restaurant, and this depicts the signs on three sides, which is similar to other fast food establishments in the area. It's located in an industrial area, and currently the building is set back about 30 feet further than adjacent buildings on either side of the property, and there is a 6-foot chain link fence along the property. So to maintain competitiveness with other fast food restaurants in the area, we are proposing to present this this signage on this proposed building. I don't know if you have any questions with regards to the renderings.
Chair recognizes Councilor Della Russo, who has the papers.
If I could, Mr. President, this falls under the Business and Economics Development and Signs Committee, chaired by Councilor Marks, who's absent this evening for a personal emergency. If you could just explain, the restaurant's undergoing a renovation, and this sign brings it up to the franchise standard or the corporate standard of advertisement?
Yeah, if I might, my name's Chad Adams. I'm the regional construction manager for Wendy's. Address is 40 General Warren Boulevard, Suite 260, Melbourne, Pennsylvania. Wendy's is currently undergoing a major rebranding of its image to bring it up to more, bring it into more in line with contemporary standards and what the public is looking for in terms of not only interior modifications, Wi-Fi, more digital type of menus and formatting on the inside, but also on the outside to kind of give it a new look. You're moving into the new millennium, and to get it away from the old-fashioned hamburgers to the, with the current product offering, which is more than just hamburgers. It's salads, it's chicken, it's a wide variety of different products. So we're kind of dropping the hamburger aspect off of our main tagline and just coming up with just Wendy's. So this is what the image is that we're moving actively across the country, and the signage, re-signage, is part of that. Where you have the old Wendy's sign that's more of a really like an 1890s type font that you might see in old time days, up to more contemporary script, still maintaining the company logo image of the Wendy's.
Little Wendy.
Little Wendy. But it is, and the way we're trying to set it up, it's not necessarily more is better, but strategically placing the signage where it gets the biggest bang for the buck. The average sign is, I think it's 32 square feet, including the cameo, and we've placed it strategically on the front blade element, which is this element here. We have another accent element in the drive-through window where the other sign goes, and then on the non-drive-through side, or the main vestibule, we have just the accent that kind of helps delineate the entry point into the building on the non-drive-through side. And that's the basic signage elements. Now, there are some other non-illuminated signs that we're requesting as well. They're more, I would classify them more as like artwork, in that they don't say Wendy's, they don't convey the product. They're basically trying to convey quality. So quality is our recipe, is a 9-inch or 7-inch sign that goes along the sign band right here. On the drive-through side, it's a little difficult to see, but it's almost like a mural. It says quality service, and quality service that doesn't cut corners is our recipe. And basically, the only people that can see that are people that are in the drive-through lane, because it's protected by the two outcroppings there. And the last sign is just basically one that says thank you that we hang off there. It's 2 square feet, mainly just informational, and really serves no purpose other than that. Part of the package that people are, you know, you pick up your order, you see the thank you, and you get a thank you from the service rep at the window.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, because of the location of this restaurant and that it's not in a dense residential area, it's a standalone store that's removed, drawn back from the main avenue there quite a bit, I see no problem with allowing these requests, so I move approval.
On the motion of approval, Councilor Longo-Kern.
Thank you, President Camuso. It looks like there's 10 specific requests, and that does include your exit and enter signs. Can you just describe to us or explain the illumination portion of signs that possibly will be illuminated?
Yeah, with respect to the exit and entry, say directional signs and the main, pylon sign, the only changes we're doing is the faces, so the script matches the building. Those will be illuminated internally. The Wendy's signs, the Wendy's logo signs on the blades in this area here, those will be internally illuminated as well, and that's it. The other signs, the sign is in the little cubby here, and the thank you sign, and then this quality, this recipe sign that's over the main entry, those are not illuminated.
So you have about, so 6 out of 10 are illuminated?
Yes.
And what hours do you plan on illuminating them?
Right now, we would illuminate them during the hours of operation, and right now, I believe we have permission to operate till 1 o'clock in the morning.
By ordinance, does the illumination have to cease at 11 or 10?
I think it ceases.
I think 1 hour after it closes.
Yeah. That's what I say. I think the signs go off when you close, but the lot can remain illuminated for 1 hour for safety purposes, to allow the workers to get to their cars.
So right now, the current signs are illuminated until 1 o'clock?
That's correct.
Okay, and you've got no complaints about that from residents?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And we were told tonight there was a development going behind Wendy's, which is going to be apartments, but will any of these signs be facing the exterior of your building?
None of them will be facing the rear of the building, which is where that development's going to take place.
Okay. I think, yeah. Thank you.
Councilor Penta.
Councilor Longo brings up a good point. Even though you're open, would you say till 1 o'clock?
That's correct.
We have a situation on the Parkway at Stations Landing, and because Kelly's Roast Beef is opposite the residential homes over there, she's right, they have to shut their sign down at 11 o'clock. That's their big sign, not the sign that's on the building. So I'm assuming that Wendy sign right there on the red brick facade, that's your biggest sign? No, on the facade, the red.
Actually, the biggest sign, this sign actually faces the shopping center across the street from it. And it's positioned on an angle, so it's a bias. Really, better idea of the orientation. It's not perpendicular to Middlesex Road. Pylon sign is located in this area here. I think the apartments are in this area right in there. Point of information, Mr. President?
Point of information, Councilor Dela Russo.
Are the present signs illuminated?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Councilor.
As long as those signs aren't facing the residential homes, correct?
No, they're not.
Okay.
What's that?
Which residential homes?
There's
No.
apartments.
Apartments.
They're in Malden.
One more question.
Councilor Longo-Kern.
Thank you. Just one more question about your pylon sign. That's That is going to be changed by hand? That's not going to be a rotating
Oh,
sign,
no,
is it?
no, yeah, that's
Changed by
manual,
hand?
yeah.
Okay.
On the
Second.
motion,
Unless you want to see a digital one.
Nope, second the approval, the way it is.
on the motion of Councilor Delarusso, seconded by Councilor Longo-Kern. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. On the motion of Vice
Thank you.
President Caraviallo to take the papers in the hands of the clerk under suspension. All those in favor? All those opposed? Offered by Councilor Knight. Be it resolved, the Office of Disability looked into the National Grid sidewalk repairs between Smith Ave and Hicks Ave to ensure ADA compliance. Be it further resolved, the findings of the Office of Disability to the council and the school department. Councilor Knight.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As I alluded to earlier in the meeting, National Grid is doing some gas line repairs along the stretch of Main Street between Smith Ave and Hicks Ave. And over the last couple of days, they've ripped up several sidewalk slabs. However, they've ripped up sidewalk slabs on either side of the street, Smith down to Hicks, which would make it very difficult for a person in a wheelchair, a person with a cane, to walk down the street, Mr. President. Also, whereas Hicks Ave is the entrance to the Columbus School, I feel as though this may pose a risk to the students that are looking to walk to school, Mr. President. So I'm asking that our Office of Disability take a look and make sure that the project specifications meet ADA compliance for an accessible pathway for individuals who might have to traverse that road, Mr. President. I'd also ask that her findings be reported to the school department to ensure that Mr. Belson's well aware of this safety situation down there. I would leave it to the Office of Disability to determine whether or not they feel as though a police detail is going to be needed down there during the construction project. At this point in time, I don't have any inkling of understanding as to how long this project's going to take. I do know that I personally saw at least 12 sidewalk slabs on either side of the street torn up, so I don't think this is a one-day project. And based upon the weather that we're going to receive and have been receiving, I don't think this is going to be something that's going to be done in a fashion that's going to be suitable for a long-term solution if, in fact, they do get out there to plug these holes. So I'm asking that Ms. McLeod and our Office of Disability take a look and make sure that, you know, the contractor out there is in compliance with the federal law.
On the motion to have the Office of Disability report back to the council and the school department. All those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Offered by Councilor Knight. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council congratulate Medford High School standout girls soccer player Corey O'Rourke on being named Boston Herald All-Scholastic and GBL MVP. Be it further resolved, Corey O'Rourke be invited to appear before the Medford City Council to accept council commendation. On the motion of approval, Councilor Knight.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think that this fine scholar athlete's accolades speak for themselves. She was the MVP of the Greater Boston League this year. She led her team to the GBL championship title for the girls soccer team here at Medford High School, and she was also Boston Herald All-Scholastic, which is one of the highest accolades that a high school athlete can achieve. I think that she joins the ranks of some other great Medford athletes like Sean Bates, Jake Perazzo, and Brittany Lanzilli to be named Boston Herald All-Scholastic. So I think it would be fitting to invite her down here to receive a council commendation and to offer her our congratulations on her great effort and great representation of the student athletes in Medford High School.
Absolutely. On the motion of Councilor Knight, all those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Offered by Councilor Knight and Councilor Camuso. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council congratulate the GBL championship team, Medford High School girls volleyball team, on their successful season. Be it further resolved, the team be invited to appear before the Medford City Council to accept council commendation. Councilor Knight.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This falls in line with what we did over the spring when we had the rowing team up here who was GBL champions for both the boys and the girls teams. I think that it's nice to see our scholar athletes being so successful on the field and in the classroom, and I think it's only fitting that we bring them down here and recognize their achievement.
On the motion of approval, all those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Offered by Councilor Knight and Councilor Camuso. Be it resolved that the Medford City Council congratulate the GBL champion MHS girls soccer team on their successful season. Be it further resolved, the team be invited to appear before the Medford City Council to accept City Council commendations. Councilor Knight.
Again, Mr. President, as I just stated before, I think it's great to see such success on the field and also in the classroom. These student athletes are a great representation of the city of Medford and our public school system, and I think that it would be fitting to bring them down here and recognize their achievement.
Excellent. On the motion of approval, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 14-777, offered by Councilor Knight. Be it resolved that an audit be performed on all taxi cab companies licensed to operate in the city of Medford, to verify and ensure compliance with the ordinances of the city of Medford that govern such operation. Councilor Knight.
Thank you, Mr. President. In recent months past, we've had a licensing committee meeting to discuss the rates for taxi cabs. We've had a number of license requests and come by before this council. I think that it's important, Mr. President, that if in fact we are going to be issuing these licenses, that we make sure that these operators are in compliance with our rules and regulations. There's been a lot of discussion about the implementation of a taxi cab ordinance, Mr. President, but at this point in time, I'm going to withdraw this matter. I'd like Councilor Marks to be here because he's expressed a number of issues of concern that he has, so I'd like to withdraw the matter and I'll refile it at a later date.
On the motion to withdraw, all those in favor? All those opposed? The ayes have it. Item 14-778, offered by Councilor Penta. Be it resolved that the mayor's new parking/revenue meter/kiosk program be discussed. Councilor Penta.
Mr. President, as an update to the proposed parking by Republic, which now appears like it's not going to take place until January of this forthcoming year, there was something, and I've already responded to the chamber on this, there was something that was put out by the chamber basically talking about business parking implementation meetings. And they sent a memo out to their members, and it basically is saying that the chamber at 1 Shipyard Way in room 302 will hold 4 meetings, one for Haines Square, which is tomorrow night, one for the Medford Hillside and South Medford, which will be on Thursday, the 11th, and then next Wednesday, West Medford on the 17th, and then on the 18th, Medford Square. And then it says next week, and this was issued out this past Friday, a representative from Republic Parking will be visiting the business areas to distribute flyers regarding the meetings. Please be sure to email or call the chamber to reserve a seat. Seating will be limited to 25 people per meeting. Well, first of all, the Chamber of Commerce has nothing to do with Republic. This is a City of Medford undertaking, and this was the mayor's contract with Republic. Have the Chamber of Commerce now be the linchpin, so to speak, between the city and Republic, I just don't think that's right. That's number one. Number two, to walk around and pass out a flyer.
Point of information, Vice President Caraviallo.
This was requested by Republic through the Chamber of Commerce to do this, not the Chamber of Commerce asking Republic. It's the other way around. Republic has been trying to get out in front of this, and they're asking to do it through the Chamber of Commerce, not the opposite way around.
Good idea.
Well, there's a point of further information, and I think you're aware of it. Not everybody in the chamber was for this and agreed to this. So let's be honest about it. This is a City of Medford. This is a City of Medford undertaking, not a Chamber of Commerce undertaking, number one. Number two, it's not an $18 million revenue enhancement for the City of Medford. The overall contract between expenditures and final payment to the city would be approximately $9 million at the end of the 10-year of the contract, not $18 million that everyone's touting and making people think that's what the city's going to get. But more importantly, if they were going to have these meetings and to identify the locations, number one, why would you squirrel 25 people into a room just in case you got an overflow of people? That's number one. Number two, why would you be having it at 5:30 at night when a lot of the business merchants, because I spoke to them, would rather have it early in the morning because at late at night they just can't pick up and leave in the dark of night, close their shops down if they're single proprietors. Number two, and number three, and more importantly, and most importantly, if they're taking the time to walk to each one of these squares and pass out flyers, they could have had enough time to find a location in each one of these 4 squares to accommodate them in their own particular district, so they'd be able to understand firsthand what they're talking about. I just don't think it's right, Mr. President, and members of the council. The chamber, they do a lot of wonderful things, but this is not their ball game. This is the City of Medford's ball game. This is the mayor's ball game. It's his package with Republic. They should have figured this out. The chamber now be the middleman, cutting down whatever interference is for the mayor. I think it's wrong, and if this is Republic's way of doing it, they're going on the wrong foot. And more importantly, it would have been nice if the 7 councils, if at least I'll speak for myself, got an invitation from Republic if we would like to participate, if you would like to be there, you have any questions or concerns. Once again, the council's just excluded.
Point of information, Councilor Knight.
I received correspondence from the Chamber of Commerce inviting me to come, gave me a list of all the dates that it was going to be held, and locations and times, emailed right to my inbox.
I did the same thing.
The Chamber of Commerce is not Republic. The Chamber of Commerce is not the City of Medford, and they don't profess to be the City of Medford, or profess to represent the City of Medford. The Chamber of Commerce is nothing more than a liaison that Republic is using for the purposes of selling their particular program. It's not their program. It's the City of Medford's program. It's the taxpayers' program. And they're the ones that are going to have to take the brunt of what all this is all about. And should be coming right here out of this City Hall, out of this mayor. This is his program, and it should have been identified in all 4 sections of the city, not in the Chamber of Commerce, and not to squirrel 25 people into a room, just in case more than 25 decided to come. What are they going to tell them, that they can't come?
Point of information,
If
Vice
there are more
President.
than, if there are more than 25 people attending one, they will plan to schedule another meeting to accommodate everyone that
Well,
wants to.
there in itself is the crux of the matter, Councilor Carviallo. If more than 25 come, why would you even wait to have more than 25 come? Why wouldn't you have found a spot ahead of time that can accommodate up to 100?
Again,
Every one of the 4 locations.
This is the Republic asking the Chamber to.
Well, then the
this is-
Chamber, if they had any brains, they'd been able to figure this out. And you're a member of the Chamber.
I'm a member
You
of the
serve on the
Chamber.
board. You got a voice. You can speak up.
I'm only one vote on that board.
Well, you can speak up about it.
I'm only one vote on that board.
Well, maybe you should speak up a little louder.
I speak up on multiple
Councilor Dela
issues.
Russo, you're on the board.
Let's talk
I
about...
just think,
Should be placed under some sort of cross-examination by the counselor, and I'm dreadfully sorry that the world doesn't revolve to his liking.
Thank you.
You don't have to be dreadfully sorry. You should just stand up and speak up and take a position, and that's all. And the position is very clear. If you're a member of the Chamber, and you know that there are 4 sections of the city that are going to be affected, why would you want to put 25 people into a room and you had more than 25? We'll have to set the time for another time. Why would you just find the location in the area that they're going to be
Point
in?
of information, Councilor Knight.
I believe Councilor Dela Russo voted in favor of a resolution asking Republic to come to each individual business district here in the city to present an information session with the business owners and the residents thereof. He voted in support of this resolution. The resolution was brought forward maybe 7 weeks ago, and it passed 6-1. So I think that when you say have a voice, Councilor Dela Russo did have a voice. He used his voice here as a councilor to speak about his position on that. What's going on in the Chamber of Commerce in this private organization and the private decisions that they make really has no effect on what we do here as a council.
Oh, I disagree with you, Councilor.
This is over and above. It's a private entity.
It might be a private entity, but it is not over and above. This is not the Chamber's issue. This is the City of Medford. This is the mayor's position. This is the contract.
Maybe the Chamber members
So
want
is this about the Chamber or about your feelings towards the mayor?
No, it's neither of that. It's the idea that this is a City of Medford contract, is it not? Is it not a City of Medford contract, Councilor Dela Russo?
I'm
It's
sorry,
a City of
this
Medford
isn't-
contract with Republic.
I'm sorry things don't go the way you'd like them.
Well, I'm sorry, things don't go your way all the time as well, okay? And maybe if you were more active, you'd have an understanding, and if you walk the streets and you listen to the people.
Councilor, enough for the cheap shots. That's a cheap shot saying, all it is. It is.
It's in your mind, all right?
Well, no, that's in your mind.
Well, it isn't in my mind. I've walked the streets, and I talked to these business people, and they would like to have had it in
Some
their
of them don't wanna
particular area.
talk.
So, listen, who's taking the cheap shot? You or me right now?
No, some of them specifically said they're happy about these meetings and they're glad to be...
Yeah, and there's some of them that don't, all right? And it
Well-
goes both ways.
Well, it's a private entity that's inviting them, not the city of
Well,
Medford.
it's a private entity that's writing them, but unfortunately, the private entity is doing business with the city as part of a public contract, and public dollars are involved.
There's
And
no
it's just
business.
hey, listen, it's my opportunity, it's my personal opinion, and that's what I'm saying.
All right.
I'm making my opinion, and Councilor Dela Russo doesn't like it, I'm not going to apologize for him not liking it. He doesn't like half the things I do, and I don't like half the things he does. So what difference does it make? That's our right, that's our freedom of speech. That's our way of saying what we want to say on a subject matter that means something, and this means something to me, because I hear the people talking. And now what are we going to do, Mr. President? When it snows out, we haven't even figured out who is going to plow the sidewalks where these meters are. Is it going to be the city's responsibility? Is it going to be a Republic's? And what happens when a senior citizen or a handicapped person can't get to the meter? These are issues that need to be discussed and be brought out publicly to have a discussion on. Still not to have it. And they still haven't been able to identify the 932 parking spaces. That's still up in the air. So what did we accomplish? And what has been accomplished by having Republic come in when these haven't even been finalized?
This is, like Councilor Dela Russo said, and Vice President Caraviallo, this is a meeting of a private entity known as the Chamber of Commerce, who is doing outreach for their members, and I applaud them. So, you have a motion, Councilor?
I just want to let the people know that this particular meeting, these particular meetings, I feel, should have been in the 4 particular areas rather than in the Chamber's office. They could have still been the sponsor. But they could have had places where more than 25 people could have come, and if they had it early in the morning rather than later at night, that's what the calls were that I got from people. If they were going to go, they would have prefaced being there.
I would encourage you to put them all together in a room.
Most people that were asked by the chamber prefer the evening meeting versus the day meeting.
Well, maybe that's the people you spoke to,
Not
as compared to the people I spoke to.
again,
And we
through
had
the
this
cha-
conversation
through the
Sunday.
Through the chamber, most people have preferred the evening meeting after work hours.
When you say through the chamber, you're talking about the chamber. I'm talking about the business people. There's a lot of business
No,
people,
through the
Rick,
cha- no,
that
no,
aren't chamber
through-
members.
Through the people that were contacted, they preferred the later hour when it was more convenient for them, because most of them open it at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they'd rather be there in the morning.
Well, they can't be there at 5:30 at night either, so what do they do?
Most of them are closed by that time.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you.
Mr. President, if I
Again,
may.
listen, this is Republic asking the chamber to help them out and help facilitate this to the business areas. This is not the chamber doing it on their own. It's part of the work that the chamber does.
Part of the work the chamber does.
Outreach. And I know there's a lot of businesses out there that are not members of the chamber that were also invited. So this isn't chamber only specific. Councilor Knight.
It seems like Republic's willing to do some outreach work, huh?
It's good
If
stuff.
they're willing to come and meet.
Republic is they're trying to do some type of, I've seen some of the things that the Republic is looking to do with the businesses, with people that do get tickets. They're trying to work with the businesses, so, on their website to do different things with people who do get tickets. And one more last thing, handicapped people don't pay the meters or the
They have a
keys.
placard.
No. They don't have to worry about putting money in by law.
Councilor Knight and then Councilor Penta.
I mean, Mr. President, it's clear, I think, that Republic's willing to do some outreach work. We've seen them at Community Day. We've seen them at a number of events that have gone on that the city sponsored. Now we're seeing them take the efforts to go and meet with the Chamber of Commerce, not on one night, not on 2 nights, not on 3 nights, but on 4 nights. So I think that, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that maybe we should just call Republic and ask them to put something together. And if we have any constituents that have contacted us, we can have the same type of info session in room 201 or room 207.
I think we'd be more than able to have a meeting with, I think Republic would be more than happy to come down to a council the whole meeting to answer any questions.
And I mean, they've been there, they've done that. I think they've answered our questions for the most part. I
If we have more questions,
but,
I think they'd be more than able to come down here and answer any
you know,
questions
but
we have.
in terms of...
I'm already working on putting my own meetings together.
Yeah,
with several
in
businesses
terms
that
of their
inquired.
track record and
Absolutely.
what they've shown us that they're willing to do, I don't think that there'd be any reason to think that they wouldn't be willing to continue to do such. I think that it might make sense if, you know, we can reach out to Republic and find out who the City of Medford liaison is, and then we can deal with these things on a case-by-case basis with that individual directly. If we needed to put them in a room with 10 or 11 or 13 people, then so be it. If business owners are calling you and they need answers, I don't think that this gentleman's going to be too, if Mr. Skelton's going to be afraid to come up here and give answers to the questions. The contract's signed. He's here. So, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, he's here. We're going to have to live with him. So I don't think that they're going to want to start off on the wrong foot and create a relationship like that. I really think that based on what they've shown us already, that they're willing to be a part of the conversation, to come in and to talk and to answer the questions and to show us how they want to implement this. So with that being said, Mr. President, you know, I'd certainly be interested to find out what the contact information is for the liaison for Republic, so that I can go and do some of that work. I don't need an official action of this council to get that information. I can make the phone call and do it my own. However, I think that might make a little bit more sense than you know, it'll get us some results. It'll bring us to the end of the road here.
And the mayor will be doing outreach in several different ways once all the information is readily available. The city hasn't started the process yet. Councilor Penta and then the gentleman at the podium.
What we're talking about, Mr. President, is everything that was discussed back in October 1st, as reported, and it was a council meeting just prior to October 1st, where we had these discussions of having them come forward. And it was your comment at that meeting, and you said that this whole parking scenario is going to be a tough pill for the business people to swallow. That's what you said.
I don't say.
Well, it's right here.
Maybe I did.
I have it right
He
here.
said culture shock, I think,
Okay.
is the term, but...
Yeah, no, he said it's a tough pill. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow. That's your quote, okay? It's on the tape. It's on your quote. And with that being said, and recognizing then from October to now, From October to now, there's been nothing. And a lot of the people in the business districts don't know who's going to be getting these meters, who isn't not going to be getting.
That's the purpose of the meetings, to help to inform them. I mean, if the mayor wants to have private meetings and separate meetings, I'm sure he'll have them, or maybe that's in his plans. I can't speak for the mayor. You know, the chamber's trying to do their part to help everyone.
Well, maybe it would have been nice if the council was advised, and maybe we had an opportunity to see what was going on, rather than have to get an invite or hear something that the chamber's sponsoring. And if you want to tag along, you can come along.
Those meetings are open to everyone that wants to attend.
There's no conspiracy here. This is public.
I didn't say that. Nobody said that.
Again, it's here to stay.
Name and, sorry, Vice
It's here, and they're trying to make the best out of it.
Name and address for the record.
John Storella, 20 Metcalf Street. Thank you, Mr. President. I have an opinion on this matter, too. I think the council should never have given the mayor permission to sign a 10-year contract. That's the one power they had. They gave it up easily, as usual. He already had the power to sign a 3-year contract. And in that event, the damage would have been minimized. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do want to make a point. The administration and the people of this city are going to regret that paid parking was ever installed.
Name and address for the record, sir.
John Byers, 22 Alston Street, Medford. Just a point of context here in this whole conversation. This was the mayor's veiled attempt at making brownie points after being called out on TV 3 times by the citizens and having Channel 5 and Channel 7 come down and their investigators do reports on how poor the city of Medford takes care of its parking problems. And the mayor did this because he got thoroughly embarrassed and he tried to throw this council under the proverbial bus, saying that this council did not want to do anything to curb the parking problem. So this is his way of saying, screw you, Medford, I'm doing this without your permission.
All right. Councilor Penta, motion to receive and place on file?
Yeah, one last thing, John. One last thing I think you forgot to mention, and that whole commentary that you just talked about when Channel 7 came.
Yes.
What was the comment that the mayor made when they were asked him about public parking?
He said the city council will not allow us to do what we need to do to help the parking problem.
I think he said, John, that the council did not put the money in the budget for it.
Correct.
And that's
Put the money in the council for the
That's
budget.
absolutely not true.
Which is totally not true,
This
correct.
council, each and every year, has been supportive of them.
And just to make a further point, after seeing that report, I called Hank Philippi Ryan, and I spoke to someone at Channel 7 and made the point to them that the mayor totally had lied to Hank Philippi Ryan in making that. And I pointed out that the mayor threw the council under the bus. I told him Councilor Michael J. Marks has been asking for a number of years about getting a comprehensive parking program in the city, and every time he is blocked by this mayor. Now, the mayor, as I said, was called out 3 times within less than a year's mess with less than a year time by Channel 5, when Channel 5 was called down about the inaccurate information being given about odd-even parking during the winter, and then the traffic, the parking program, and the oh God, I'm losing my train of thought here.
Relax, take it, it will come. It's okay. It's all right, John.
Basically, what I'm saying is, what has to happen is this council as a whole has to proverbial grow a set, stand up to this mayor, and say, no, we're not going to allow this. The last time we had parking meters in this city, there were problems, and we ended up pulling them out. Now this mayor wants to throw us back into the Stone Age again, with parking meters. That isn't the way to go. The way to go is to have a comprehensive parking program, and that's it. What I was trying to say is about the permitted parking, by the way. That's what I was going to mention, the fact that the permitted parking and people are being told after they have paid their permits to park.
Okay. On the motion, receive and place on file. All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We have two sets of records. Councilor Pent. Oops.
Would like to,
Suspension of the rules.
somebody in the audience would like to speak. Me?
Good evening, Joe Villione, 59 Garfield Ave. I wanted to inform the public that yesterday I attended a press conference the mayor had with a Comcast representative, a Sheila Willard, very nice woman, speaking about a program, an old program that Comcast had. It's 7 years old. They'd put it aside, now it's back. It's called Every Block. Now you can go on the city website and see Every Block and get the press release.
Excuse me. One second. Can you gentlemen take the conversation outside, please, so we can hear the guy at the podium?
Thank you so much, sir. Council President, thank you. This Every Block, you can do a web search on it. I think it's everyblock.com, but search it to make sure. And the city website does have information on it. No, it's intriguing. So the woman from Comcast asked if there were any questions, and no one asked a question. So I said, well, we already pay Comcast for PEG access, and we're not getting the product. So can you elaborate on that? And the mayor went up, and Councilor Caraviello was there, along with Tim Kelly from Comcast, and the mayor said next week there will be a press conference and that he is going to give us an access TV station. So I want the council to hold the mayor at his word. It would have been nice if that press conference yesterday was held in Alden Chambers, and I would hope the city council can respectfully ask the mayor to start having more public hearings. That videotape I did of the parking meter video, that was an important meeting with people out the door. It would have been great to have it here. These chambers are wonderful, hallowed halls, and I think that they would serve this city well. So anyway, that conference was about Every Block. Next week, we're going to have a press conference, according to the mayor, on his new proposal for an access TV station. Please, City Council, hold him to his promise. I don't want to hear him go back on it.
There'll be an announcement on the forthcoming.
I do have a comment on this again. John Byers, 22 Alston Street. This idea of the mayor saying there's going to be an access station, there has to be one thing made clear. We will not accept any of the mayor's cronies running the access station, that being a Mr. Jack Dempsey. We need to have someone that is not involved in the mayor's circle.
Point of information.
I don't think we need to name the gentleman by name over here, Mr. President. That's inappropriate.
Well, I'm sorry you don't like that, but we can't have people like that running the access station, because basically what will end up happening...
The same thing could be said about a number of people, you know what I mean, Mr. President? I just don't think it's conducive to a positive debate and it moving the city
Mayor
forward.
will be appointing people that he feels fit.
We can't have any of that, because if that happens, then he'll have control of the station, and people like me who have been outspoken against him will not be allowed on that station. He'll keep people that are...
Mr. Byers, you'll always be allowed at the access station if you're a member in good standing.
What?
You will always be allowed at the Medford access station if you are a member in good standing. No one's going to keep you out.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm going to be kicked out, but there'll be stringent rules put against me because I've been outspoken against him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The records of November 25th were passed to Councilor Penta.
Mr. President, on page number 212, under Resolution 14754, Amendment number C. It's by amendment. It says amended by Councilor Penta and Councilor Longo-Kern, that OCD report back on what has information they have. I don't know what that means. It doesn't make any sense. Huh? Well, let's go to page 12, 14754, number C. And then we go to, you got it? Yeah. I don't know what the correction, I don't know what the term, The sentence doesn't make sense. No, I'm telling you that needs to be corrected. I'm reading section C here, it doesn't make sense, the second line. I don't know what you have. I mean, you have to go back to the tape and look at it. I don't know.
You take a look at it?
It doesn't make any sense. And then we go to page 213, 14,759, and under A, after the word "but," that doesn't make sense. It says amended by myself of a street, if your street was not swept, but were tagged, ticketed, and towed. I don't know if it's a resident or if I mean your car. I don't know. I don't know what it's supposed to be. You're gonna have to go back and look at the tape.
That's when you said to go to the mayor and
Right.
take care of the ticket.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that. It says,
Go to City Hall.
if your street was not swept, but were tagged, ticketed, and towed, is it your car or a resident was tagged? I don't know. Maybe it's a resident's car. Maybe those are the appropriate words that have to be put in there. I don't know what "but were tagged" means. What's the, Eddie? Just go, the sentence, it doesn't make sense.
We can take a look at the tape and we can figure out exactly what it is that...
So we're going to table those still?
No, I have no problem, as long as he corrects them, that's all. It's just, it's grammar, but it's not making any sense.
On the motion with further clarification of approval, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. The records of December 2nd will pass to Vice President Caraviallo. How did you find them? On the motion of approval, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. On the motion of Councilor Penta for adjournment, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the
Yes,
ayes have it.
thank you, Larry. Beach.